Hi viewers, welcome to another episode of our interesting math topics. We're going to be looking at Introduction to Algebra 1. So I urge you guys to follow up on this series one after the other. So this is Introduction to Algebra 1. The next upload is going to be on Introduction to Algebra 1B. So I urge you guys to watch the Introduction to Algebra 1B. So, and don't forget to subscribe to our channels and also turn on the notification buttons to get notifications on most of our latest upload on our videos. So today we are going to be looking at Introduction to Algebra 1. Have you ever wondered when you're given some questions in algebra, like if you're given something like minus 5xy minus 6xy, you're told to simplify something like this, and the result just gives you minus 11xy. What is the secret behind this solution? How do they get minus 11xy? So this is what we're going to be unraveling today. Okay, and in algebra, every numbers usually have their signs in front of them. For instance, now minus 5xy and minus 6xy. For instance, the sign for 5xy is minus, while the sign for 6xy is also what? Minus. So that means the sign for every algebraic expressions is usually in front of them. For instance, again, if I have something like plus 6 minus 7 plus 8, sign for 6 is plus, sign for 7 is minus, sign for 8 is also plus. But most times some numbers are usually written without any sign in front of them, such as 8 minus 7. Now the sign for 7 is minus, so this minus doesn't belong to what? 8. But let's look at 8. Does it have any sign? Looking at the front of 8, we don't have any sign in front of 8. It means our 8 has an invisible plus sign, which is not what? Clearly written here. But we know that it has what? An invisible plus sign. So that means our 8 here has an invisible plus sign, while our 7 here has what? Minus. So this takes us to the same sign rule. What does same sign rule talks about? Same sign rule says that if you have any algebraic expressions and they have the same sign, you just pick one of the similar signs and add both what? Algebraic what? Expressions or numbers together. So that means if I have some examples, for instance, if we're given a question like you should simplify, okay, let's say simplify the following. Simplify the following. Number 1, if you have something like plus 8 plus 3, well, somebody asks you to simplify plus 8 plus 3, what do you think the answer should be? This is not actually hard. This is what we're referring to as the same sign rule. Same sign rule says that pick one of the similar signs and always what? Add both terms. So if you look at our 8 here, the sign for 8 is plus. The sign for 3 is also what? Plus. That means both have the same sign. And since they have the same sign, I'm going to pick one of their similar signs, then I'll add both numbers together. So that means I'm going to pick plus. 8 plus 3 gives us what? 11. Can you see that now? So that means my answer is plus 11. But don't forget, plus 11 in algebra can also be written as what? 11. Where this 11 has an invisible plus sign in front of it. Do you understand that now? So that means when you're dealing with same sign rule, all you just need to do is to pick one of the words, similar signs, and add both numbers together. Let's look at another example 2. Let's look at example 2. Example 2. If you have minus 9 minus 3 and you're told to simplify minus 9 minus 3, still the same thing. This is still talking about same sign rule. So what do you do in this case? First of all, you need to identify the sign attached to the numbers. The sign for 9 is minus. The sign for 3 is also what? Minus. That means both have the same signs, which is what? Minus. So that means I'm going to pick one of their similar signs, which is the minus. Then I'll add both 9 and 3 together. So 9 plus 3 gives us what? 12. So that means my answer is minus 12. But take note, minus 12 is not the same as 12. So that means you can't write minus 12 as just 12, because this 12 here implies that it has an invisible plus sign. Are you getting that now? But this 12 already has a minus sign attached to it, so I can't just take away the minus and write it as 12. I can only do that for what? Plus. So if the question was to be plus 12, are you getting it now? So that means I can just write it as what? 12. Okay, so let's look at another example. Example 3. If you're told to simplify 11 plus 6, Looking at this now, this is actually quite easy and very easy for us to do. 11 here has an invisible plus sign. 6 here also has a plus sign. That means they have the same plus. That means they have the same similar signs. So I'm going to pick one of the similar signs, which is plus. Then I'll add both numbers together. 11 plus 6 gives us what? 17. So that means I'm going to have plus 17. And don't forget, plus 17 is the same as what? Is same as what? 17. Because this 17 also has an invisible plus sign. Okay, now let's look at example 4. For example 4, if we're told to simplify minus 21 minus 10, let's just simplify something like this. What do you think the answer should be now in this time around? So if I have minus 21 minus 10, this is not actually very hard, it's very simple. First of all, you need to identify their signs. The sign for 21 is minus. The sign for 10 is also what? Minus. That means both have the same signs. And since they have the same signs, then I'm going to just pick one of the similar signs, which is minus. Then I'll add both numbers together. So what is 21 plus 10? 21 plus 10 gives us 31. So my answer will be minus 31. You can see how very simple and easy it is. So our answer is minus 31. So the same sign is not always add. Pick one of the similar signs and add both numbers or algebraic expressions. That's all. So once you see them having the same sign, just pick one of their similar signs and add both numbers together. Okay, let's pick another example. If we have another example, example 5. If we're told to simplify plus 5x plus 3x. Now these are already having variables attached, so this is an algebraic expression. So if you're asked to simplify something like this shouldn't scare you as well. Now, first of all, identify the signs. The sign for 5x is plus, sign for 3x is also what? Plus. It means that they have the same signs. And once they have the same signs, all you just need to do is to pick one of the similar signs and add. So that means from here, I'll pick one of the similar signs, which is plus. 5 plus 3 gives us 8. There's a variable and they have the same variable. Then I'll come here and pick back my variable x. But take note, if this guy is having x and this is not having x, I cannot add and I cannot subtract. And also, if their variables are not the same, for instance, if this was to be y and this is to be x, I cannot add and I cannot subtract. But because their variables are alike, then what did I do? I'll just pick one of the similar signs, then I'll add both numbers together. Okay, so let's look at example 6. For example 6, if we're going to simplify minus x minus 9x, how do you go about this? This is not actually hard. Now, in algebra, I want to show you guys something. In algebra, you don't attach one to variables. For instance, there's no such thing as 1x. There's no such thing as 1y. There's no such thing as 1xy. There's no such thing as 1p. Are you getting it? And so 1 is not attached to variable. So 1x should be written as ordinary x, where this x has an invisible what? 1. 1y is the same thing as y, where this y has an invisible y. 1xy is the same thing as what? Xy, where our xy has an invisible 1. 1p is the same thing as what? P, where this p has an invisible what? 1. But we can have something like 2p, this is correct. We can have 2x, this is correct. We can have 3xy, this is correct. We can even have 0.1x, this is also correct. We can have 0.01xy, this is also very what? Correct. But 1 cannot be what? Attached to any of the variable, but can also actually attach any other number other than 1. So that means that is why we have only x written. So it means that this x has an invisible 1 attached to it. Now, before we start, looking at this is x, this is x, the variables are the same. So that means it's possible for us to add and subtract. Then the next thing for us to do is to identify the signs attached. So the sign for x is minus, sign for 9x is also what? Minus. That means they have the same sign. So I'm going to pick one of their similar signs, then I'll add both numbers together. So that means since these guys have an invisible 1 plus 9 gives us 10, then I'll put back my what? X. So this becomes minus 10x. And note, minus 10x is not the same as 10x. Take note of that. Okay, so let's look at another example. So if we also have example 7, We are told to simplify minus 9xy minus 3xy, and you're told to simplify this. Is it possible for us to add and subtract these guys? Yes, it's possible because the variables are the same. The xy, we have xy here, we have xy on the other side. So that means it's possible for us to add and subtract. The next thing for us to do is identify the signs attached to the numbers. So the sign for 9xy is minus, the sign for 3xy is minus. That means they have similar signs. And in algebra it says that whenever they have similar signs, we should pick one of the similar signs and add both numbers together. So that means from here, my answer is going to be minus 9 plus 3 gives us what? 12. Then I have what? Xy. So the answer to this question is minus 12xy. Okay, so that is how it is. So this is actually very what? Easy. Now let's go to the next example, which is example 8. Okay, so for example 8, if we're told to simplify plus 5x squared y plus 3x squared y. So how do we simplify something like this? Now this also shouldn't scare you because it's having what? X raised to the power of 2. No, all you just need to do is to look if the variables are what? Similar. Now we have x squared y, we have x squared y. So that means the algebraic expressions are what? Similar. Are you getting it now? So that means since the variables are similar, I can add and I can subtract. Then I'll now look at for the rule to adopt. Am I going to be adopting same sign rule? Am I going to be adopting different sign rule? So looking at this guy, sign for this is plus, sign for what? 3x squared y is also what? Plus. So that means this is same sign rule. And what does same sign rule say we should do? Pick one of the similar signs and add both terms together. That's just how simple it is. So that means in this case, I'm going to pick my plus sign, which is the similar signs, add 5 and 3 together, that gives you what? 8. Then attach back your variables, which is what? X squared y. And don't forget, plus 8x squared y is the same thing as 8x squared y. This is similar, they are all the same. So this is not actually hard. Okay, so let's look at another example again. Another example number 9. If you're told to simplify minus, okay, if you're told to simplify minus 5 CAB minus 7 BAC, how do you simplify this? Minus 5 CAB minus 7 BAC. Now, anytime you're having your variable, you're having more than one variable in attached to one algebraic expression, first of all, you need to find out if the variables were arranged in alphabetical order. Looking at CAB is not arranged in alphabetical order because in alphabetical arrangement, A should come first, followed by B, and then C. But in this case, C is coming first, which is not supposed to be. So that means the first thing I will even do before I even start looking at this question is to first rearrange the variables in alphabetical order. So let's do that now. So doing that, this becomes minus 5. A should come first, followed by B, then C. So now, right, looking at this again, this is also not arranged in alphabetical order. This becomes minus 7A, then followed by B, and then C. Are you getting that now? So in this case, they are having the same what? They are having the same variables. That means it's possible for me to add and subtract since I'm having ABC on this part and ABC on the other side. So that means it's possible for me to add and subtract. So then next thing is for you to identify the signs. Sign for this is minus, sign for this is also what? Minus. That means they both have the same signs. And in algebraic expressions, whenever they have the same signs, you pick one of the similar signs and add both what? Numbers together. So that means I'll pick one of the similar signs, which is minus. 5 plus 7 gives us 12. Then I have ABC. This is very easy and this is very simple. So please, I want you guys to just take note of the rules. Same sign rule, pick one of the similar signs and always add both numbers together. So let's look at another example. Let's look at example 10. We were told to simplify 4yxz plus 9zxy. How do you go about simplifying this? So let's look at this in this other side. So if we want to simplify 4yxz, okay, so how do you simplify it? So this is not also hard. First thing is identify the signs. Sign for 4yxz is what? Plus. Y is also what? Plus. Then looking at the variables, I'm having more than one variable attached to 4. So are the variables arranged in alphabetical order? No, these guys are not arranged in alphabetical order, because in alphabetical arrangement, X should come first, followed by Y, and then Z. Are you getting that now? So that means the first thing I need to do is to what? Rearrange my variable so that this becomes 4xyz plus this also becomes 9xyz. So that means the variable here has been arranged in alphabetical order. Now, since the variables are the same, that means it's possible for us to add and subtract. Then how do we go about doing that? We need to look out for the rule to adopt. Are we going to adopt the same sign rule or different sign rule? So looking at the sign for this is plus, while the sign for this is also what? Plus. That means they're having the same sign. Are you getting it now? So since they're having the same sign, then I'm going to pick one of their similar signs, which is plus. Add 4 plus 9, that gives us 13. Then I have x, y, z. But don't forget, 13xyz is the same thing as 13xyz without this what? Plus sign written. So it means that this guy has an invisible plus sign in front of it. Do you understand that now? Okay, so now let's look at the next example. Example 11. If we're also told to simplify something like minus 5 zy squared x minus 4y squared zx. So how do you go about simplifying this? Now I told you in algebraic expressions the variables must be arranged in alphabetical order before we can even think of adding or subtracting them. So first of all, let's see if these guys are arranged in alphabetical order. So looking at this is not arranged in alphabetical order. So let's do that now. So this becomes minus 5. X should come first, followed by y squared, followed by z, minus 4x y squared and what? Z. So in this case, the variables are what? Well arranged in alphabetical order. So since the variables are arranged in alphabetical order, what do I do next? I'll find out the signs attached. So the sign for this is minus, sign for this other one is also what? Minus. So that means they are having the same signs attached to them. So since they're having the same sign, so the rule says you pick one of the similar signs and add both terms together. So that means I'm going to pick my minus, then I'll add 5 plus 4, it gives us what? 9. Then I'm going to have x, y squared, z. So do you understand this now? So this gives us minus 9x, y squared, z. So it's not really hard. The rule is just pick one of the similar signs, add both numbers together. But before you do that, your variables must be arranged in alphabetical order. Okay? So now let's look at the next example. Let's look at example 12. So for number 12, if you have to simplify minus 4x minus 5. Now, looking at this, is it possible for us to simplify this, or what do you think the answer should be? Should the answer be minus 9x, or should the answer be minus 9? Let's see if both answers are correct. Now, the sign for this guy is minus, while this is also minus. This one has variable x attached to it, while our 5 do not have any variable attached to it. So since our 5 is not having any variable attached to it, that means it's not possible for us to add nor subtract. So that means the final answer is just going to be minus 4x minus 5. This is our final answer. But in higher classes, most time, maybe an objective question, they might just want you to factorize your minus sign out. So another way the answer can appear is for you to bring out the minus. So when you bring out the minus, then use minus to divide. Use this minus to divide minus 4x. So minus cancelling minus, or minus times minus will give you what? Plus. So I have 4x. Then minus cancel out minus again. I'm going to have plus 5. So that means this is how you can also see it in an objective question. Are you getting it now? But whenever you are told to simplify any algebraic expressions and they do not have the same variable, or if one of them have variable and the other do not have, that means you cannot add and you cannot subtract. So and then in that case, you cannot apply your same sign rule. Okay, so that means this is the answer to this. Let's look at example 13. For example 13, if you're told to simplify plus 3px plus 3px squared. So looking at this, how do you go about simplifying these two? First of all, this guy has a plus sign, this guy has a plus sign. It has more than one variable, so then what will I do next? Find out if they are arranged in alphabetical order. So P comes before X, this is correct. P also comes before X. Or are the variables the same? The answer is no. The variables are not the same. Because this, we have P, we have P. We have X, we have X raised to the power of 2. X raised to the power of 2 is not the same as X. So that means it's not possible for us to add, neither is it possible for us to what? Subtract. So that means my answer will still be plus 3px plus 3px squared. Or I can simply remove this plus and just write it as what? 3px plus 3px squared. So I can remove the first plus, so this guy has an invisible plus sign. But take note, because I'm saying I'm removing this plus, shouldn't make you write your answer as 3px 3px squared. And I said our teacher said we should always remove the plus, so we have an invisible plus. This is not making any sense again. So that means you should only remove the first one, but the middle sign connecting both numbers should not be removed. Are you getting that now? Okay. Alright, so now next example, example 14. If you're told to simplify minus 6, so this simplify minus 6z y squared x minus 3y x squared z. How do you go about simplifying this? So we want to simplify this now. First of all, we look at the variables. The variables are not arranged in alphabetical order. So since they are not arranged in alphabetical order, that means the first thing we have to do is to arrange these variables in alphabetical order. So let's do that. So this becomes minus 6. X comes first, so I'll put my x, followed by y, then followed by z, minus, for this x should also come first. I'm going to have x squared, y, and z. Now the question I want to throw it to you now, do these guys have the same variable? So do you think they have the same variable? So what's the answer? No, they do not. They don't have the same words. The variables are not what? The same, because this is x raised to the power of 1, while this here is x raised to the power of 2. That means they're not even the same. This is y raised to the power of 2, while here we have y raised to the power of 1. But z and z are the same, but x and y are not the same. So that means it's not possible for us to add, and it's not possible for us to subtract. So that means our final answer is going to be minus 6xy squared z, or minus 3x squared yz, or we can simply bring out the minus. So if I bring out the minus, I'll put a bracket, minus dividing minus gives us plus. So I'm going to have 6xy squared z, minus dividing minus also gives us plus. So I'm going to have plus 3x squared yz. So both are correct. Are you getting that now? So this is how you can leave your answer. Okay, so now let us look at the last example. So if we have, alright, so last example, if we're told to simplify minus 3ca squared b minus 2b squared ac, how do you go about this? Now I told you in algebraic expression, don't forget you must always do some certain things. First, you need to look out for the variables, if they are similar or not. And for you to find out if they are similar or not, the variables also must be arranged in alphabetical order. So looking at this, the variables are not arranged in alphabetical order because I'm having C coming before A, which is not supposed to be. So the first thing I will do is to rearrange so that I will have minus 3a squared bc minus 2ab squared c. So this has been arranged in alphabetical order. The next thing for me to do is to find out if the variables are similar, if it's possible for us to add and subtract, because the only time we can add and subtract in algebraic expressions is only when the variables are what? Similar. So that means I'm having a squared, I'm having a, they're not the same. I'm having b, I'm having b squared, also not the same. I'm having c, I'm having c, both c's are the same, but since the rest are not the same, that means the variables are not similar. So since the variables are not similar, that means it's not possible for me to add nor subtract. So that means my answer can also be this, or I'll factorize minus out, then use minus to divide minus. So I'm going to have plus, and I have 3a squared bc, then minus divide minus, I'm also going to have plus, then I have 2ab squared c. So this is how simple these things are. Okay, so please, whenever you're given any algebraic expression, first thing for you to do is to look out for the rule to adopt. So our next episode now, I'm going to be talking about our different sign rule. So different sign rule talk about when the signs are no longer similar. How do we go about simplifying the algebraic expressions? But once you see that the signs are similar, all you just need to do is to pick one of the similar signs and add both numbers together. Okay, so don't forget to watch the next episode, which is on different sign rules. So I'm going to give you some few exercises to try your own, and don't forget to drop a solution in the comment section and ask questions if you don't understand. So let's look at the exercise. Okay, so for the exercise, simplify the following algebraic expressions. We have minus 5 FCBD minus 7 DCFB. So don't forget same sign rule. So check if they're having the same signs, and don't forget to check if the variables are arranged in alphabetical order, and do so. Number 2, we have to simplify 7gh squared k cube plus 9k cube h squared g minus 8t cube s r squared minus r squared t cube s. Don't forget when variables are written without any number, I told you that they usually have something. Is it an invisible one? Think about it. Then the next one, we have minus 10 BCF and we have minus 6 CFA. Then the last one, which is plus 6z squared y plus 3yz squared. So that means your variables must always be arranged in alphabetical order, and the variables, after arranging them in alphabetical order, if they are similar, then add. Pick one of the similar signs and add. But if the variables are not similar, then just leave your answer that way. Take note of that. Okay, so see you in the next episode, which is on the different sign rule.